Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to narrate the future life progression session that I had with Sneha. So if you want to know the reason behind why she wants to go for the future life progression, you can go back to the playlist of past lives and reincarnation and watch the video of Sneha's past lives. Here it goes. So in the future life progression session, I guided Sneha to a hallway with doors that represented future possibilities with Sumit. So what we do in a future life progression is that we give the client a number of options. So those options could be in the form of doors, it could be in the form of doorways or archways that they can go through, it can be books, or it can be different pathways in a forest. So there are a lot of different ways people guide clients to their future lives. I think that it is most recognizable for people, and almost everyone has been to a hotel or something with a long hallway and a number of doors, so it is easier to picturize. So I took her to a hallway with doors behind which there are multiple possibilities with Sumit. So she chose a door and opened it. She took her own time to do that and found herself wearing black heels when she came out of the door on the other side, black jeans and a purple shirt, walking towards Sumit, who was working at a site. Now I don't know what site it was, perhaps construction site, I don't know. But she said he was working at a site. It was the year 2025 when I asked her. Almost Diwali time. She knows it's Diwali time because the workers there, they're asking Sumit for a Diwali holiday, and the city they were in is Indore again. So Sumit was telling them to wait as it was not yet the time. Sneha had a feeling that she and Sumit were married in 2025 and asked him if he had finished the work for the day. He replied that he hadn't, as they were supposed to go out for lunch, and he told her to wait there while he talked to the contractor. And she said that they had a child, a girl. Sneha called her by a name that she couldn't quite figure out. I asked Sneha to go back in time in that future life and see what choice she made that led to this future possibility. Sneha said that she had moved back home, back to India, and started her own business called Potion. Sumit found her through its publicity and he was in her office. However, she was engaged to someone else at that time and Sumit was alone. And he wanted to invest in her business. She said that she wasn't looking to sell anything, but he was welcome if he needed any other kind of help. So Sneha and Sumit kept meeting each other at various events, and Sneha was engaged to someone named Puneet while Sumit was still single. The three of them met at an event where Sneha was supposed to speak. Sumit asked Puneet what he did for a living and offered him a drink because all of them were there together. Puneet asked Sumit if he had a wife and he said he didn't. So that place looked like a banquet rooftop, but there was too much white noise there in her vision to hear everything clearly. Maybe things were hidden purposefully, so this also happens, spirit hides things that are not meant for us to know right now purposefully. Sneha and Sumit started working together in that future life, and he was consulting her on a business related to food since she's a food scientist. They were getting close again, but she shut it off because Puneet was still in her life. She didn't want to leave Indore, which was one of the resistances in deciding their wedding date. So in order to marry Puneet, Sneha has to leave Indore, but she doesn't want to leave that city, so there is kind of a resistance in getting married and fixing a wedding date. She cried and yelled at Sumit for coming back into her life because she was engaged to someone else who was waiting for her instead. Sumit apologized and said he thought it was the right thing to do at that time. Sneha talked to her mother in the vision, and her mother told her to wait and not to take any steps, so just wait and watch what happens. So now I wanted to see if she has another possibility in the future to explore because there wasn't anything coming up further. So I guided her to come back to that hallway with different doors and walk down the hallway, look at another door that she is interested to open, and she did. After a countdown from 3 to 1, I asked her to open the door and describe what she sees. She reports that she is back in her office working in India in the year 2022. So at that time, this was still in the future, right? I asked Sneha what she's doing in 2022, and she reports that she has an interview to talk about her brand. She sees a man reading about her interview in the newspaper and smiling. That man is Sumit. So Sneha continues with her life but sees Sumit from a third person view, looking at her in the media and smiling. Then I asked her to move forward to 2025 and see what happens in that lifetime, in that probability. So Sneha reports that she is single in 2025 and Sumit is in the audience of an event where she is a speaker. After her speech, he comes up to her and says, "You finally did it." He asks if she wants to get a cup of coffee sometimes, and Sneha is quite surprised by that, and she asks if he is married, if he has a family. He says he doesn't have one. And then Sneha gives him her business card instead of, personally giving him the number and everything. They talk further, but every time he tries to maybe lightly touch her, she doesn't like it. He asks if they can start afresh, but she says that she needs time. And instructed Sneha to move forward 2 to 3 more years, and she reports that she and Sumit get together after some time. He now wears glasses, and I asked if Puneet was there in this possibility, and she says that he wasn't. Finally, I asked her to see more possibilities, and she agrees to look into a possibility with just Puneet in the picture and not Sumit, and see how her life would be like if she ends up getting married to Puneet. In this session, I instruct Sneha to imagine opening a door related to a possibility with Puneet. She visualizes Puneet waiting for her at the airport as she returns to India. He then drives her to his home and meet his family and friends. Moving forward 3 to 4 years, Sneha visualizes being married to Puneet, but she does not feel fulfilled in the relationship and is often irritated. She compares it constantly with her relationship with Sumit, which was in the past, and she feels that the relationship with Sumit was more fulfilling than being with Puneet. Maybe the spark is not there. And also in her past life regression, she also saw that Michael was Puneet. So maybe she has already done with her karma with Michael / Puneet, and in this lifetime, if she again chooses to marry Puneet, she will be again going through the same decision she made in her previous life, and both Sumit and Sneha would be once again, resenting their relationship because none of them made the actual move. So that is why if she marries Puneet, it will be like repeating the same thing. So she doesn't feel any fulfillment in being with Puneet when she visualizes herself in the future. So after this future life progression, Sneha started feeling kind of detached from this whole thing. When you're fresh out of the sessions, you don't feel much. That is normal, and it takes some time to integrate the lessons and to also think about what you saw, because many people come out and they think that, oh, I just made it all up. Whether someone made it all up or not doesn't matter here, because that is the material that has come out of their subconscious, and it will help them in making a decision in the present time. That is what is more important. So after the session, I gave her some time to integrate her lessons, integrate whatever she saw in the past life regression and the future life progression session. And she came back to me after about 15 days, and she told me that she feels quite detached from the whole situation. She feels that she has no interest in pursuing either of those men, and she wanted to focus more on herself, her own life, her own health, mental and physical. She was learning to be comfortable with just herself, and in a very funny way, she had many men come into her life all of a sudden after the session, and all of them, were asking her out on a date or something or the other, and she was laughing about it with me because it was very funny how her energy changed and how some of her karma, got cleaned up, and all of these things were happening all of a sudden. But she chose to say no to all of them because she wanted to take time to explore, and this is very good for her because she learned to put herself first, to participate in her own healing first, and only go into a relationship when she feels fulfilled with herself, and not because of desperation, and not because she feels that she lacks something in her life. And secondly, she also developed psychic abilities after that session. So even before the session, she was very intuitive, she was very spiritual, she had a few clairvoyant incidents in her life. But after the session, she suddenly developed a very active ability of remote viewing. So she messaged me after a month or so that she could view the point of view of Sumit's current girlfriend in real life. And that is something very surprising and something very, alarming actually. And I told her to not do that if she can control it, to not project her consciousness out into his girlfriend, even if she is doing it unintentionally. And I asked her to learn to control it. I shared some tips with her about how she can control it, and also shared that she can actually go to a teacher and learn how to control that ability. And I even tested her on that. So at that time, I was working in a job and I was sitting in front of a computer, and I texted her. I asked her, okay, can you look at me right now and tell me what I'm wearing and what I'm doing? She didn't know that I was in this job or doing whatever. So she replied to me with exactly what I was wearing and exactly what I was doing, that is sitting in front of a computer typing on a keyboard. And there was a window on my right side, and she also described that there is a window on my right side. So basically she was actively looking at me in real time, and she could do that at any time you asked her. And I was impressed, and I wanted to explore this ability further with her. But I was also concerned about her own well-being. Since she's my client, I shouldn't be looking at my own benefits in the situation. So I asked her to connect with her spirit team and request them to not make this ability so open that she's able to do it all the time and unintentionally, to close it a little bit, to provide more control to her. And I asked her absolutely to not meddle into the energies of Sumit and his girlfriend at any cost, because that can be karmically very heavy and also psychologically damaging. So that is what happened with Sneha. But there is a reciprocal relationship between a client and a therapist. So the client also sometimes contributes a lot of learning and upgradation to, is that a word, upgradation? A lot of learning and development to the therapist as well. So what happened was, before this PLR session that I did with Sneha, I also did her Reiki healing. And during her sessions, by the way, her sessions were one of the deepest sessions I've ever done in Reiki healing. So during her Reiki session, I saw Margaret. So while I was sending Reiki to her, I could see like a blonde woman wearing a Victorian dress and just turning back and looking at me and smiling. I just saw a flash of that. And when she saw the past lives in her past life regression session, I understood that I actually saw Margaret. And perhaps the energy of Margaret was reaching out even during the Reiki healing sessions to be healed. So that is all about Sneha's future lives as well. So she saw multiple possibilities with Sumit and Puneet, and she gauged how her life would be in each of those possibilities. And she did not like them at all. She didn't like any of them, and she chose to choose herself. And in those future life progression sessions, she also saw her life in 2022, which has already passed, by the way. And she did not go to India. She is still here in Canada, and she's working on herself, loving herself, and she's working on her career. And she met someone, but she is taking things slow with him, and also prioritizing herself and not letting anyone else trample over her or treat her badly, or let her be hanging in the middle or something. So if you watched till here, first of all, I thank you for taking part in your own healing. And please leave a comment saying yes in the comment section to let me know that you did watch till the end. I will see you next time with another video on another topic. Have a wonderful rest of your day.